Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. Let's get on Discord, get on the call, and get some news. I can speak. Like I said, I'm pretty slow. My brain is slow.
Okay, you got a mouse that works, I think. Put the battery in backwards yesterday.
That's always
weird.
nice.
Yeah, weird. I thought it was working at first, What happened here? Technology is wonderful. All right.
You've made it.
How's my... Okay. Are we all right? Hair looks good, huh? Stacking my hair a little bit more. Right, man. Not really all right because I'm still not straight.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Today on Before Coffee. Italy captures brown bear that fatally mauled a jogger.
No impunity. G7 vows tough unified stance on Russia's war.
EU faces legal action after including gas and nuclear in green investment guide.
U.S. arrests two for allegedly operating special Chinese police unit outposts in New York City. We need police.
West prepares for Putin to use whatever tools he's got left in Ukraine.
Rail CEO to testify in Ohio Senate, about fiery derailment. That and more today on April 18th, 2023's edition of Before Coffee.
Oh, not forget the transfer. All right. Today, on our first news story, court previously suspended order to put down female brown bear after appeal by animal rights group. Italy captures a brown bear that fatally mauled a jogger because for some reason, animals have to be put through the court of law for murder. A female bear, let's see the story before I make too much judgments, but a female bear mauled somebody. I wonder why. Authorities in northern Italy have captured a bear that fatally mauled a jogger and became the focus of a battle over what to do with the country's growing brown bear population. Officials in Trento announced on Tuesday that the bear, identified as JJ4, had been captured overnight. Andrea Poppy, 26, was killed during Andrea Poppy, 26, was killed during a mountain training run between 5th and 6th of April. So during the spring, a female bear mauled somebody. The Trento Provisional Authorities ordered that the bear be killed, but the animal rights group appealed to an administrative court, which suspended the order on 11th of April. JJ4 is the same alpine brown bear who injured a father and son out walking in the region in 2020. Then too, provisional authorities decided to kill her, but a court blocked the move. She was born to two bears brought to Italy from Slovenia 2 decades ago as part of a European program to repopulate the brown bear population that had been dwindling. It has now rebounded and is increasingly having close encounters with humans. Poppy's family has said they do not want the bear to be culled. Yeah, there's no reason to. If a female bear is attacking you in the wild, you know what's happening? In the springtime? That would cause a bear to be territorial, maybe?
Oh, I'm on the bear's side completely.
I'm completely on the bear side. I mean, it's sad that somebody got attacked by a bear.
Yeah.
But also, if it happened before, shouldn't there be like a sign saying, hey, warning, there's a bear in this area. Don't go jogging by yourself.
Yeah.
Bring bear spray. I don't know. I think the government.
Human kills a bear, nobody goes to prison.
Yeah.
Just saying. I mean, they got a fine. That's about it.
But the thing is, like it said, the family doesn't even want anything bad to happen. So why is this why are we even talking about it, really?
I think it's the Italian vendetta mentality. I don't know.
I don't know if you have to make it racial like that, or
I see a lot of mafia movies.
Yeah, killed my killed my jogging son. Gonna pay you, bear.
They put out a hit on him. Sorry.
There are about 100 bears in the Trento area, and close encounters with humans are becoming more frequent. And a man attacked by another bear called MJ5 in the same province in March. It's just like... This sounds like it's coming from that entitlement that I'm human and I should be allowed to go anywhere because we own the planet. Kind of thing. It's just like, sometimes you're not allowed to go somewhere, it's because it's dangerous. Like a bear infested woods.
Sharks?
Yeah.
They hunt down sharks with the same vengeance? I doubt it. I doubt it very much.
Well, we do actually.
A movie.
Oh, so we kill a lot of sharks for shark fin soup. So now there's no sharks.
Not a vendetta shark. I'm talking a vendetta shark. I'm not talking about just any old shark.
You mean like Jaws?
Nah.
But that's
Jaws
not real,
is
that's fake.
I just said we don't do it.
Yeah. Anyways, your next story.
All right, what was my first story?
Don't remember.
No impunity. G7 vows tough, unified stance on Russia's war. Karuizawa, Japan. Top diplomats from a group of 7 wealthy democracies vowed a unified front against Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine, saying at the close of the meetings Tuesday that they were committed to boosting and enforcing tough sanctions against Moscow. The G7 communique laying out their commitments also included strong words, there goes my mouse, meant to curb, he's going to come over behind a computer, watch him, here he comes. He's going to peek at me, he's going to see me, he's going to run like hell. Oh, he's still hiding.
That is indeed how they work.
He'll do it when I'm not looking to scare the hell out of me. Okay. The G7 communique laying out the commitments also included strong words meant to curb what the ministers are increasing Chinese and North Korean aggressiveness in Northeast Asia. But in Russia, invasion of Ukraine that highlighted it, but it was Russia's. I'm sorry, my eyes are a little cloudy this morning. But it was Russia's invasion. There he goes. But it was Russia's invasion of Ukraine that highlighted the 3-day summit in this hot spring resort town. Sounds like a good song. There can be no impunity for war crimes and other atrocities such as Russia's attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure, the minister said. We remain committed to intensifying sanctions against Russia, coordinating and fully enforcing them, the communique said, and would support for as long as it takes Ukraine as it defends itself. The foreign minister's document was prepared as a template for global leaders to use in the G7 summit that will be held in Hiroshima next month. Take your radiation suits. And included in language about Iran, Myanmar, Afghanistan, nuclear proliferation, Iraq, nuclear proliferation, and other grave threats. I'm talking nuclear proliferation in Hiroshima. But 2 cities stood out. China's increasing, but 2 crises stood out. I can't read. China's increasing assertiveness against and military movements around Taiwan, the self-governing democracy that Beijing claims as its own, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia's current offensive is largely stalled and Ukraine is preparing a counteroffensive, but there's widespread global worry about the Russian leaders' repeated threats to use tactical nuclear weapons. Russia's irresponsible nuclear rhetoric and its threat to deploy nuclear weapons in the Belarus are unacceptable. The G7 envoys from Japan, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Canada, Italy, and the European Union. I thought Italy was in the European Union.
No, I don't know why they said that. Yeah. I don't know why they always say the European Union like that.
Well, Italy is separate from France, Germany, and the European Union. That's weird.
Well, the thing is how the European Union works, right? Is the leaders of it are the leaders of every country in the European Union. I don't know.
I think before the EU existed, the G7 existed. I'm pretty sure. So I think it's because France, Germany, Canada, and I think France, Germany, Canada already had a seat, and they don't want to give it up. That's got to be what it is, right? And Japan's Japan, right? Yeah, so You're okay. Have underlined their meeting marks a crucial moment in the world's response to Russia and China's aggression. Two crises are seen as challenges to post-World War II rules-based international order. Global efforts to confront the matter at the United Nations have been stymied by Chinese and Russian intransigence in the Security Council. Leaders and foreign ministers of G7 countries, most recently France and Germany, have recently concluded visits to China, and there's growing worry that after China recently sent planes and ships to simulate an encirclement of Taiwan. Beijing has also been rapidly adding nuclear warheads, taking a tougher line on its claim to South China Sea, and painting a scenario of impending confrontation. The G7 ministers said that the peace and stability between China and Taiwan and the Taiwan Strait is an indispensable element in the security and prosperity of the international community, and they called for the peaceful resolution of the cross-strait issues. We demand, besides China, a key worry is North Korea, which since its beginning of the year last year has test-fired around 100 missiles, including intercontinental ballistic missiles that show the potential of reaching the U.S. mainland, and a variety of other short-range weapons, and threatening South Korea and Japan. We demand North Korea refrain from any other destabilizing, provocative actions, including any further nuclear tests or launches that use ballistic missile technology, the communique said, adding that future actions must be met with swift, united, and robust international response, including further significant measures to be taken by the UN Security Council. It is critical that sanctions be fully and scrupulously implemented by all states and remain in place for as long as North Korea's WMD and ballistic missile programs exist, the minister said. This was a AP story written by Foster Klug, Matthew Lee, and Mari Yamaguchi. Short story. Back to you, Chet.
All right. In my next story, we're going to cover also the European Union was facing legal action after including gas and nuclear in a green investment guide. European Commission accused of acting unlawfully in two separate cases brought by environmental groups. From Jennifer Rankin in Brussels on The Guardian. The European Commission is being sued by the environmental campaigners over a decision to include gas and nuclear in an EU guide to the green investments. Two separate legal challenges are being lodged on Tuesday at the European Union's General Court in Luxembourg, one by Greenpeace and another by a coalition including Client Earth and WWF, after the classification of fuels in the so-called taxonomy, a guide for investors intended to channel billions into green technologies. The EU executive argues Greenpeace acted unlawfully when it designated gas and nuclear. EU executive argues Greenpeace acted unlawfully when it designated gas and nuclear as bridge technologies in the taxonomy, which is intended to help meet the bloc's goal of carbon neutrality by 2050. Client Earth, along with three other NGOs, is challenging the inclusion of gas, which it says breaks the EU climate law that sets a legally binding target of reaching net zero emissions by the middle of the century. The case is the largest legal action against the EU's environmentally sustainable economic activities. Last year, a lawsuit was launched by Austria and supported by Luxembourg. 8 national and regional Greenpeace organizations, including France, Germany, and the EU office in Brussels, are asking the court to rule inclusion of gas and nuclear nuclear invalid. I don't see why. I think the argument here is nuclear makes waste, right?
Yeah.
But it makes, I think, 10% less waste, or 10 times less waste than coal, for example.
Oh,
but I guess they just want
carbon.
zero. They just want zero waste solutions, which don't exist. That's not how.
Right, that's not energy.
That's not how physics work.
There is, but we haven't developed it yet. We can create energy from hydrogen, which is waste, is basically water vapor.
Yeah.
So zero carbon emissions are possible. We just haven't figured it out. Nuclear fusion.
Well, it's not zero emissions. It's zero carbon emissions, right? Technically,
right.
nuclear stuff doesn't do carbon emissions. It just does,
No, we just got no
plutonium
place.
emissions.
We have no place to store depleted uranium that has a half-life of 14,000 years or whatever.
Though, to be fair, they've actually improved nuclear energy to a totally different isotope that isn't uranium. But people don't want to hear that because, unfortunately, Europe is incredibly anti-nuclear energy. Like, really anti-nuclear. And I'm just like, I mean, if you're going to take the worst of the lesser of two evils, nuclear energy is better than gas because gas is fracking, which is bad.
You send nuclear energy in outer space.
Whatever. Anyways, I'm obviously not part of Greenpeace, so what do I know? Nina Treyu, the executive director of Greenpeace Germany, said the taxonomy was meant to be a tool to meet the 1.5C target on a global heating and make the European Union climate neutral, fostering social and economic restructuring for the European economy by shifting funds. Instead of hindering greenwashing, it has become a tool for greenwashing. Gas and nuclear had been included because of politically motivated lobbying, Treyu said. Greenpeace will tell the court that gas cannot be considered a transition fuel because any gas-powered plant that comes online today will be running beyond 2050. I guess that's the same for nuclear as well. It takes a long time to close a nuclear facility. The environmental group will also say the construction of a new nuclear plant, which usually takes 1 to 2 decades to build in Europe, will delay the move away from coal power, hinder development of renewables, risk accidents, and create pollution. Nuclear is dangerous, expensive, vulnerable to climate change, and too slow to stop the climate breakdown, Treyu said. Greenpeace has hired the lawyer Rhoda Verheyen, who acted for the group in the landmark case that resulted in Germany's climate protection laws being ruled inadequate by the country's constitutional court in 2021. Verheyen said the inclusion of gas and nuclear was not in line with the EU's original taxonomy law. The European Commission has violated the very idea of taxonomy regulation. This is especially obvious as including nuclear activities does not pose significant harm to the environment, which is expressly prohibited by regulation. The lawsuit was essentially an enforcement claim, said. Observe your own law. Actually carry through with the Europeans' Green Deal, she said, referring to the EU's flagship climate plan. The EU taxonomy became law in July 2020, but legislators left important details to be resolved through so-called delegated acts. Secondary legislation meant for technical issues that is not subject to the same degree of ministerial and parliamentary oversight. Like, we're gonna amend this, but like quietly behind this curtain. The campaign groups are challenging one of the delegated acts. The separate legal challenge by the coalition include Client Earth, and WWF covers the inclusion of gas, but not nuclear. A Nice Birth Year at Client Earth said that European Commission had violated a requirement to make science-based policy and broken EU climate law that required policymakers to carry out checks to ensure all actions by the bloc were consistent with the goal of achieving net zero by 2050. Labeling fossil gas as sustainable is absurd and it's unlawful, said the coalition, which also includes the NGOs Transport and Environment and Fund. It goes against the EU's own scientific advice and fundamentally undermines the credibility of the EU's climate action. Fossil gas is not clean, not cheap, and not a secure source of energy. A judgment expected in 2025. Although participants expressed the hope that the court would act faster, there is a confusion in the market because the current law infringes the European law, Verheyen said. All right, well, that's the problem with the economic coalition that is the European Union. They don't really have power to make laws. They have powers to make suggestions for countries who are part of their group.
Right. It's
to agree or deny. They don't have to do it, right? All they get really is shame. Germany didn't agree with our thing. Oh well, what are we gonna do? It's Germany. No.
Right. Well, it's a mess. No commentary. They'll figure it out. It's not actually a possible conclusion. Yeah. They'll compromise with something that everybody hates. How's that sound? All right. In a shorter story, Rail CEO to testify in Ohio Senate about fiery derailment. On Columbus, Ohio, this is AP by Samantha Hendrickson. One writer, so it's shorter. Norfolk Southern CEO is set testified before the Ohio Senate Rail Safety Panel Tuesday, more than 2 months after a fiery train derailment, including hazardous materials, rocked the village of East Palestine. Alan Shaw has promised millions of dollars to help Ohio-Pennsylvania border community recover, but also faces a lawsuit from Ohio's Attorney General Dave Yost over costs for the toxic chemical spill cleanup and environmental damage. The federal government has also sued the railroad. Shaw previously testified before the Pennsylvania legislature as well as Congress over the derailment, and now faces Ohio lawmakers who recently passed a state transportation budget that would impose new safety rail measures on Norfolk Southern and other railroads traveling through their state. Same people that voted for deregulation last election, they're going to go, yeah, we're going to regulate now. Whether they're allowed to do so, however, remains a point of debate. The Ohio Railroad Association, a trade group, has argued that several of the measures are preempted by federal law. Legislators say that General Assembly can put the statewide safeguards in place to help protect constituents. No one was injured during the February 3rd derailment, but half of the nearly 5,000 East Palestine residents were evacuated for days. Many say they continue to suffer from health problems because of an intentional toxic chemical release and burn, which was conducted to prevent uncontrolled explosions after the derailment. Samantha, that's it. That's a story.
From Russia, Brest prepares for Putin to use whatever tools he's got left in Ukraine. Officials readied for nuclear threats and cyber attacks as part of Russia's response to predicted counteroffensive. Western leaders are preparing for anything Russia has coming at them for the Ukrainian counteroffensive that we talked about a couple weeks back, where they're either attacking Crimea or going to the north. Nobody really knows where they're going, and Russia might pull out nuclear weapons to stop them, wherever it is. British officials at the G7 Foreign Ministers Summit in Japan said they were expecting Russia to retaliate and must be prepared for extreme tactics as they attempted to hold on to Ukrainian territory. The former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev said last month that Moscow was ready for the Ukrainians to hit back, warning that his country would use absolutely any weapon. Kyiv attempted to retake Crimea, which was annexed by Russia in 2014. There appeared to be acknowledgement in Moscow that its forces might soon find themselves on the defensive in Ukraine as Russia's own winter offensive appeared to be slowing down. Russia's nuclear rhetoric has united the G7 ministers, who issued a statement after a 2-hour meeting on Monday condemning the threats as unacceptable, criticizing Putin's plan to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. A transatlantic group of former senior diplomats and high-level military advisors said on Monday that the war in Ukraine was on course to becoming a stalemate unless the West went all in and increased its level of military support. The group said that the declarations of unwavering support were not enough, and actions still failed to match the rhetoric, and a reflection of military assessment in European capitals and Washington. At the G7 summit, the ministers reaffirmed their commitment to intensifying fully coordinated and enforcing sanctions against Russia, agreeing to be more coordinated to prevent evasion of the measures and to target third parties supplying weapons to Moscow. It came as Foreign Secretary James Cleverly demanded the release of British-Russian opposition leader after he was sentenced to 25 years in prison by a court in Moscow, paying tribute to Vladimir Karamazov Jr. for bravely denouncing Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Kremlin critic, who has twice survived poisonings, was convicted of charges of treason and denigrating the Russian military in what he denounced as a show trial, which we talked about, I believe, yesterday. Russian ambassador to the UK, Andrei Kalin, was summoned to the Foreign Office for addressing down on Monday over Russia's human rights obligations, including the right to a fair trial. The French President, Emmanuel Macron, provoked controversy last week when he said on a flight back from China that Europe should not become a vassal of the U.S. foreign policy. And Eastern governments, in particular, had accused Macron of failing to learn lessons of the war. Without U.S. military and financial support for Kyiv, more than 30 times that of France, Ukrainian resistance would have already crumbled, they believe. Separate talks. Japan, G7 nations including UK, US, Canada, Japan, and France formed an alliance to develop shared supply chains, which you talked about. And the UK's Department for Energy Security and Net Zero said 5 countries would use their civil nuclear power sectors to undermine Russia's grip on supply chains, cutting off another means for Putin to fund his invasion of Ukraine. Your next story.
Right. And there are more international espionage type news. U.S. arrests 2 for allegedly operating secret Chinese police outposts in New York. This is according to CBS News. Robert Laguerre. Updated fairly recently, 3:16 p.m. In Washington, the FBI not in Washington, the dateline is Washington. The FBI arrested 2 defendants on charges that they set up and operated a illegal Chinese police station in the middle of New York in order to influence and intimidate dissidents critical of the Chinese government in the U.S., this Justice Department announced Monday. Harry Liu Jianwang, 61 of the Bronx, and Chen Jinping, 59 of Manhattan, are charged with conspiring to act as agents of the Chinese government and obstruction of justice. In a 300-page affidavit accompanying a criminal complaint, the FBI agent said that the defendants established a secret police station under the direction of Chinese Ministry of Public Security, MPS, in a Manhattan office building. The Justice Department said the 2 men helped open the outpost in 2022 and deleted their communications with the MPS official once they became aware of the FBI's investigation. Both are due to appear in federal court in Brooklyn later on Monday. It is simply outrageous that China's Ministry of Public Security thinks it can get away with establishing a secret illegal police station on U.S. soil to aid its efforts to export repression and subvert our rule of law, said Kurt Ronnow, the acting assistant director of FBI's Counterintelligence Division. This case serves as a powerful reminder that the People's Republic of China, PRC, will stop at nothing to bend people to their will and silence messages they don't want anyone to hear. China disputed the U.S. assertions about the police stations on Tuesday, according to the Reuters news agency, which quotes Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin as saying they don't exist in China, has a policy of non-interference in other nations' internal affairs. Yeah, okay. Agence France Presse reports that Wenbin said political manipulation was behind the arrest. China firmly opposes the U.S. side's slandering, smearing, engaging political manipulation and maliciously concocting the so-called transnational repression narrative. AFP quotes him as saying. In separate complaint, nearly 36 MPS officers were charged with using fake social media accounts to intimidate Chinese dissidents in the U.S. and disseminate official PRC government propaganda and narratives to counter the pro-democracy speech of Chinese dissidents. The Justice Department said, referring to the People's Republic of China. The 34 defendants, all believed to reside in China, allegedly worked as part of an elite task force known as the 912 Special Project Group to locate and harass Chinese dissidents around the world in an effort to silence criticism of the Chinese government. Others are accused of disrupting online meetings where topics critical of Chinese government were discussed, according to charging documents unsealed Monday. The group allegedly operated a troll farm of thousands of fake social media profiles and sites like Twitter to disseminate Chinese government propaganda and recruit agents inside the U.S. to do the same. In one instance, members of the 912 group allegedly targeted the anti-communism viral conference convened by Chinese dissidents with loud music, threats, and vulgarities. 10 more individuals, including 6 MPS officers, are accused of trying to censor the political and religious speech of people in the U.S. who are critical of Chinese government. As alleged, the PRC government deploys its national police and 912 Special Project Working Group not as an instrument to uphold law or protect public safety, but rather as a troll farm that attacks persons in our country for exercising free speech in a manner that the PRC government finds disagreeable. It also spreads propaganda whose sole purpose is to sow division within the United States. Breon Peace, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, said in a release. police. Monday's charges, the first targeting a Chinese secret police outpost anywhere in the world, are the latest in the Justice Department's effort to combat transnational repression of 4 dissidents living in the U.S. Last year, federal prosecutors charged more than a dozen defendants, most of them Chinese officials, who, with allegedly participating in schemes to repatriate critics of Chinese government, obtain secret information about U.S. investigation in a Chinese telecom firm, and recruit spies agents and the United States. In January, a Justice Department accused 3 men of plotting to assassinate an Iranian journalist living in the U.S. for her outspoken criticism of the Iran's regime. The men from the U.S., Iran, and Czech Republic were charged with murder for hire, indictment, and sealed in federal court in New York. Your story. Back to you.
All right. In my culture news, we're going to talk about how a photographer admits a prize-winning image to Sony World Photography Awards, but it was found to be AI generated. German artist Boris Eldgesson says entry to Sony World Photography Awards was designed to provoke debate. After admitting to being a cheeky monkey and generating the prize-winning image using artificial intelligence, the German artist Boris Eldgesson revealed on his website that he was not accepting the prize for the Creative Open category, which he won at the Sony World Photography Awards. In a statement on his website, Eldgesson, who studied photography and visual arts in many different places including Mainz, Prague, Sarojini Naidu in Hyderabad, applied as a cheeky monkey to find out if competitions would be prepared for AI images to enter. They are not, he added. We, the photo world, need an open discussion. A discussion about what we want to consider photography and what not. Is the umbrella of photography large enough to invite AI images to enter? Or would it be a mistake? With my refusal of the award, I hope to speed up this debate. He said this was a historic moment as it was the first time an AI image had won a prestigious international photography competition, adding, how many of you knew or suspected that it was AI generated? Something about this does not feel right, does it? AI images of photography should not compete with each other in an award like this. I think AI images shouldn't compete anywhere, and they are different entities. AI is not photography, therefore I will not accept the award, he is quoted as saying. Instead, he suggested donating the prize of the photo festival to Odessa in Ukraine. This stunt comes at a time of intense debate over the use and implications of AI, with some issuing apocalyptic warnings that the technology is on the brink of irreversible damage to the human experience. Recent advancements in the use of AI in chatbots, driverless cars, songwriting software, and the development of pharmaceuticals has spurred the discussion. Google's chief executive, Sundar Pichai, said concerns about AI had kept him awake at night and warned that the technology can be very harmful if incorrectly deployed, and trust me, it's already being incorrectly deployed. A spokesperson for the World Photography Organization said Eldgesson had confirmed the co-creation of the image using AI before they announced the winner. The creative category of open competition welcomes various experimental approaches to image making, from sign types and rayographs to cutting-edge digital practices. As such, following our correspondence with Boris and the warranties he provided, we felt that his entry fulfilled the criteria for this category, and we were supportive of his participation. Additionally, we were looking forward to engaging in a more in-depth discussion on this topic, and welcomed Boris's wish for dialogue by preparing questions for a dedicated Q&A with him for our website. As he had now decided to decline his award, and we have suspended our activities with him, and in keeping with his wishes have removed him from the competition, given his actions and subsequent statements noting his deliberate attempts at misleading us, and therefore invalidating the warranties he provided, we no longer feel we are able to engage in a meaningful, constructive dialogue with him. We recognize the importance of this subject and its impact on image making today. We look forward to further exploring this topic via our various channels and programs, and welcome the conversation around it. While elements of AI practices are relevant in artistic context of image making, the awards always have been and will always continue to be a platform for championing the excellence and skill of photographers and artists working in the medium. Okay, so they knew about it, but they're still angry about it. I don't know. The art world is weird like that. Next, this day in history.
All right, this day in history was Patriot Day, 18th of April, if you know the poem. It was the 18th of April in 75. Barely a man is now alive who remembers the famous day and year of the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. I know some of it. Anyway, it was 18th of April, so they have the Boston Marathon yesterday. And the winner in the men's wheelchair division, I guess they're going by the order of who finished first. If you want to win the Boston Marathon, learn how to use a wheelchair, because the guy who won it finished in them 1 hour and 17 minutes and 6 seconds was Daniel Romanchuk. That's the wheelchair winner. The women's wheelchair winner, 1 hour and 41 minutes, 45 seconds. Name was Australians Madison de Rosario. I'm sorry, that was a runner-up. Marcel Hoog of Switzerland was the men's winner with 1:17:06. So it was virtually a tie. With the American Dan Romanchuk came in second. Okay, now back to the women's wheelchair winner, which I'm screwing this up. America's Susan Scaroni won with a time of 1:41:45, and Australia's Madison de Rosario was the runner-up. And the actual people that use their feet to run, Kenyans Evans Turbet won the
ableist.
I know, but they listed the wheelchair runners first because they did finish first. You can go faster in a chair.
I don't know about that. It's all about your arms.
But they finished in less than 25 minutes faster than the people running. Kenyan Evans Chebet won the professional men's race with a time of 2 hours, 5 minutes and 54 seconds. Tanzanian Gabriel Gay was runner-up at 2:06:04. The professional women's winner was Kenyan Helen Obiri with a time of 2:21:38, and Ethiopian Amane Bariso finished 12 seconds later at 2:21:50. The non-binary winners is American K. Ravichandran, 2:38:57, followed by American Cal Calambria, 2:51:02. None of those times were good enough to beat the professional women, so no controversy there. Like, I'm faster, but I'm non-binary or something.
Well, just because you're non-binary doesn't mean you're a woman. You could also be a man.
Yeah, I'm just saying that was not faster than the men's time or the women's time or even close to any of the fastest. So it was like the fastest women time was 21 minutes. The fastest non-binary was 17 minutes slower. So, I mean, they ran in the race.
I don't know. I'm a gender abolitionist. I don't think we should even conceptualize ourselves with gender. Unfortunately, we've been stuck in that paradigm for a very long time.
Well, I just say men are bigger than women. That's the way it is.
No, that's not how that works.
Yes, it is. Men are bigger than women. I don't know. It's just the facts. On average, men are bigger. We got bigger. I don't know. What do you want me to say? The biggest man is way bigger than the biggest woman.
Sexually different animals in the animal kingdom.
All right, we're going to get into science. This is this day in history. 1506, Pope Julius... Yeah, laugh all you want. Pope Julius II...
I was laughing about how I was going to say that as a person with asthma, I can't imagine running for an hour or 2 hours. I
hate running.
That's ridiculous. And it reminded me of how fucked up it is that in high school, I was forced to run for... 10 minutes or something, right? Or I'd not pass a gym. Isn't that weird? Yeah. I have asthma, which literally stops me from running. And they're like, we don't care if you have a disability. You better go out in that field in the grass, which you're allergic to grass, and go run as you die from your asthma attack. That's not my problem. That's all. Anyways, continue with your day in history.
This day in history, Pope Julius II laid the first stone for the St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City in 1506. American defense lawyer Clarence Darrow, was born on this day in 1857. He was He was famously on the wrong side of the Darwinian monkey trial. In 1906, San Francisco was rocked with an earthquake caused by slippage along the San Andreas Fault. So this day, 1906, was the San Francisco earthquake.
Oh, man. That was awful.
This day, 1942, U.S. Lieutenant Colonel Judd led the B-25 bombers, was known as the Doolittle Raid, and caused little damage, but boosted Allied morale. Remember, we were bombing Tokyo in 1942, and we're like, yeah, we could still bomb Tokyo.
Why?
We're kicking our asses to boost morale. To boost morale.
No, that's what. Yeah, I know. So it's like, let's kill a bunch of people to boost morale. It's like you're already winning.
I don't even think they did any damage.
Yeah.
I don't think they really did. Not much damage. During the U.S., you couldn't guide bombs in those days, so it's just. During the U.S. invasion of Japanese-led Okinawa in World War II, American war correspondent Ernie Pyle was killed on this day in 1945. Sad. In 1956, Grace Kelly married Prince Rainier of Monaco and became Princess Grace. Zimbabwe achieved independence from United Kingdom in 1980. Before that, it was called Rhodesia. In 1990, Canadian ice hockey player Wayne Gretzky skated his last game in the NHL. And Dick Clark was born on this day. No, he died on this day in 2012, but it doesn't say how old he was. And and Albert Einstein also died this day in 1955. So there you go, I guess. Birthdays today: Conan O'Brien, born in 1963, so he turns my age. Robert Hassan, American law enforcement and spy, died born in 1944. And Ahmed I, Ottoman Sultan, was born on this day in 1590. Happy birthday, Sultan of, what did they call him? The Sultan of Swing back then?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they called him the Sultan of Swing. He would swing a big machete.
Why a machete?
Whatever. I just think all the sultans always had these big swords, you know?
Oh, I see. Okay.
I bet that's about it, man. That's today in history. And
all right. That's a
wrap
short
this
one.
thing up. Yeah, well, was it? Seemed long.
I think you've read longer. Anyways, this has been Allison having asthma and not thinking I could run for 2 hours straight. And hope to see you tomorrow for some more news about Russia's invasion of Ukraine and AI art.
And this is Roger, and you can sign off. Want to do the sign off? April. Okay, I'll do it. I hate being the last voice.
No, I like you being the last voice because I'm the
first
voice.
Oh, you do?
Voice.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the first voice and you're the last voice. It works.
All right, take care of yourself out there. Take care of each other. We'll see you tomorrow in another edition. This has been April 18th, 2023's edition of Before Coffee. Be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons. And follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.